Well, I'm here in North London with a very special guest this week on this edition of the Fighting Spirits podcast. A very special person who I've known nearly 30 years. I dubbed him 15 years ago the Godfather of English Cricket. He's all about fighting spirits, but he's also about the development of people's spirits. He's been involved in his life with Eric Clapton and the Bee Gees, as a part producer, part songwriter with them, as a manager for them, involved in the music industry, and then moved over with his incredible one-off character and personality to be involved in the very heart of cricket and the development of some of the greatest cricketers we've ever seen, and also the kinship of some of the greatest cricketers we've ever seen in the game, the likes of Sir Vivian Richards, Sir Ian Botham, all the knights, basically. He's loved around the world. I'm here today to spend some time in his home. I like to call it Bunbury Cottage, but it's not. It's up in Mill Hill in North London, beautiful part of the world, very green, just on the outskirts of London, a stone's throw from the West End, where he's also a character whenever he heads into central London. It's the one and only, the Godfather of English Cricket, the originator of the Bunbury Cricket Club, the instiller of probably the best cricketers we've come to see through the land in the UK. He's written books, he's written songs, he's done everything that you can do. It's the one and only, and I do hope he's going to get knighted so I can call him Sir David English one day, but it's the one and only Bumbers David English. How are you?
Gal, I'm overwhelmed by that tribute. Every word made sense to me, but can I also just say that this is the man who did more for school sport than anybody. I've known him so long, and as a Telegraph feature writer, tip-top man, he was an inspiration to us, and he's been our friend at the Bunbury Festival for many, many years. He is an inspiration, and Gal, it's great to see you again, looking so well.
Thank you. Listen, it's not about me today. It's all about you. Now, just tell me first of all, the ECB, as it's called now, the ECB David English Bunbury Under-15s Cricket Festival. The Bunbury Festival, England Cricket Schools as it was. How long does that go back, and how did you start this?
Gal, what happened was in 1987, Ben Brocklehurst, who is the owner of the Cricketer magazine, said, David, I want you to come down here and meet Cyril Cooper, who's the General Secretary of the England Schools Cricket Association. He said, they've run out of money. And he said, unless they find the dosh, the England Schools Under-15 Festival will cease to be. Would you help us? I said, I'd be proud and privileged to do it on one condition. We call it the Bunbury English Schools Cricket Festival after my children's books, which I wrote, Bunbury Tales. And that was in 1987. So this is the 33rd year we've been doing it, Gal. And in 33 years, 95 Bunburys have played for England, 1,012 have played first-class cricket, and we've raised £17 million through our Bunbury celebrity teams, in which you played and you know all about. So it was a labour of love, Gal. To be asked to do something which is a passion anyway, I find quite overwhelming. And so when England won the World Cup this weekend, 10 of the 11 were discovered at my Bunbury Festival. I did feel proud because I've known them since they were 15, and we've kept in touch all the way, and now they're world champions. So it's been a wonderful adventure, and long may it continue.
It's funny because I contacted you on the Saturday before the Sunday final against New Zealand. What a game it was. I mean, you know, even for those people listening who don't follow cricket, it was you couldn't script it. The kind of things that happened in it, if you did script it, people would have said, oh, you wrote that into a Hollywood script. It's so unreal. Kind of runs being scored in bizarre fashions, people not being caught because they stepped over the boundary in the end, and it was just incredible. And I had that as well on the Saturday to ringing you because, you know, as you say, our association goes back a long time. Even people like Joe Root, this extraordinary England batsman that captains the Test team, but is not the captain in the one-day team. You won't remember this. I gave him media training in the days when I used to come to the festival, and then 4 scholars were picked from the team. The Telegraph would pay for them to be at Loughborough University with the England senior team, and they spend a week with them at 15. I mean, can you imagine? I don't know if you still do that, but can you imagine what that does for those boys to be 15 to be selected in the England under 15 side from 54 cricketers or 52 cricketers, 13 in a squad, isn't there? The four teams to be picked in the 15 or the 16, and then to be picked as the 4, aged 15, spend a week with the England senior team. Imagine what that does for you at 15. And Root had his media training from me. I don't think I gave Ben Stokes media training, though. No. He's probably untrainable, I reckon.
No, but you were at our Nando's night when Ben Stokes put peri-peri sauce into Joe Root's Coca-Cola, and we caught him. And then we're all doing a kind of a dance through the restaurant and whatever.
Sussex Nomads, that one, wasn't it?
It was Preston Nomads.
Preston Nomads.
Correct.
In Sussex.
That's right.
Steve Gatting's club, Mike Gatting's brothers' club, wasn't
Correct.
it? Yeah.
And we had Ben Stokes, Joe Root, Jos Buttler, Zafar Ansari, Liam Dawson. It was a wonderful year. And
Stokesy wasn't one of the scholars, was he?
No.
He didn't make it to scholarship, look, even that year.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was always a bit of a fighter. Joe was kind of, he used to think carefully. He was an observer. Jos Buttler was a mystic. And then, you know, it was terrific. The thing
is, the most gifted. I think the thing is about Jos Buttler, this brilliant middle order batsman and wicketkeeper. He's got one of those eyes. He could have been a Jonah Barrington at squash. He could have been an Andy Murray at tennis. He could have been a decathlete in athletic. He could have been a centre for the England rugby team. Do you know? He's one of those guys, isn't he?
Completely natural. And when I have my game at Lord's, every year I put on an England schools versus MCC schools game. He comes along unannounced and he wears his Bunbury tie. I said, Joss, great to see you. He said, I just want to come along and see everybody. And he stands there. And I said, that's fantastic, Joss. He said, Dave, this is where it all started. And he said, by the way, he said, thank you for giving us the chance to show what we could do. That's what he said to me.
I can remember the year before all those boys played in that festival, and you said to him, now, Gal, as you used to say, you've got to watch out for Zafar Ansari, the left armer, and a beautiful batsman as well. Obviously, he's not in the England setup at the moment. Still at Surrey, I think.
He's retired, Gal.
But also, here's the other thing. He was an A-grade student and a brilliant pianist as well.
Pianist. Because when I spoke to him and he got an award, I said, what do you want to do, Zaf? Batting, bowling, fielding? He said, I want to be a concert pianist.
There you go.
There you go. You know, isn't that terrific? And don't forget, guys, they're only 15, and some people develop later. Ian Botham never got into the England schools under 15 side, developed when he was 18. Liam Botham did. So when you're 15, it's a very interesting age. You're not a child and you're not an adult, you're an adolescent. So you're faintly worldly wise, but you're still peeking over the Coca-Cola cans. You know, and that's what's great about being 15.
But isn't it amazing to, just before we go on to that, I was saying, you said to me about Jos Buttler.
Yeah.
Gal, you've got to look at this kid, Jos. He hits the ball so hard and so far, but effortlessly. I've never, ever seen a guy of this age hit the ball so far. No. And look what he can do. And I think even at 15, he was able to hit it out of county grounds and hit it out of Lords even for 6, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, the 3 hardest hitters was Marcus Trescothick, in my 33 experience being a Bunbury, the bum father. David Sales, who I thought would play for England, but didn't. James Hildreth was the other person I thought would play for England. But in terms of hitting the ball hard, Jos is the hardest hitter of them all. But he does it in such a gentle spirit. It's extraordinary. When you talk to him, he's the most modest person. But with a cricket bat, he's an absolute kind of tyrant, isn't he? Yes. And he can. And he's vice-captain of England. I think he'll take over from Owen when Owen does retire. I hope it's not soon, by the way, because he's only 30. I don't know how old Owen Morgan is. He's 32 or 33 or whatever. But Jos Buttler,
he can't better this. That's the point, because he won't be around in 4 years' time. So he will slowly fade out now.
Of course. But no, so Jos Buttler is somebody people don't really know, but I do, and he'll turn up unannounced whenever he wants, and he supports the Bunburys, which I think is great.
You're mentioning there about when they're at that age of 15.
Yes.
And they come and cut their teeth. They spend a week with you at the festival. They live there as a group. For many of them, it's the first time they've been away from home for a period. So you have a real responsibility, because I know how much fun you are as well. And I won't call you a retrobate in any way at all, but you've always had that free spirit, that kind of cavalier attitude, the most beautiful, in the most beautiful way. So you lead them astray only over the top of the Coca-Cola can and then put them back in the dormitory. But it's a brilliant thing to have that influence over them at that age? Because they've all stayed friends with you, haven't they?
All of them. But Gal, the first thing I tell them when they arrive, I said, well done for getting here, lads. School, county, region, Bunbury Festival. Well done. And it's a festival, so I want you to relax. And whatever you did to get here, just continue to do it this week, and we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. But one thing you will do, lads, watch how you form friendships with all the 4 regions, which is London, the East, South and the West, North and the Midlands. 56 best boys in England, aged under 15. You'll make friendships, and a lot of you will go on to play first-class cricket and England cricket, but you'll always remember where it started at the Bunbury Festival, because you'll always have a smile on your face. Then I give them the little poem. Bunbury stands for freedom, stands for fun, stands for ever being young. So do a good turn unto others, never turn from your quest, for you, Gareth, are a Bunbury, and a Bunbury does his best. And that's it. And once you're in the brotherhood, that's it for life. And we keep in touch all the time. So all these lads who played at Lord's, I sent them little emails. They always send it back. Thank you, Dave. Because to me, friendship is for life, Gal. It really is. It's not just a fleeting fancy. It's something for life. And cricket, and when you see them play, and then when 8 years later they're playing for England, it's very special, isn't it? But they always remember where they started. And the Bunbury Festival is where they started. Yeah.
Can you have you heard from any of them? You've been in touch with any of them this week?
Yes, they all got the phone. I had the most ridiculous phone call. They were obviously in the hotel. And I think they'd had a few Coca-Colas. And there was Root, Butler, Stokes, Wokes, Plunkett, Woods, Adil Rashid, Moen, and they all passed the telephone around. And they all said, Dave, thanks very much for everything. And they actually said, thanks for giving us the chance to show what we could do. And they passed it around, that phone. So that meant a lot to me. Yeah, they did. They all phoned me. And Trevor Bayliss did too, which was great. He said, Dave, you encourage the boys. It means a lot. We talk about you in the dressing room, and they tell us how they started and whatever. So they are an extended family, Gal, and they always will be. But no, somebody must have said, well, let's phone old Dave up. And they did. And that was great.
It's funny, you know, because you mentioned Adil Rashid. I remember he was Shrewsbury, because I came to that when I presented him with one of his 4 awards he won, if you remember. Yeah. And he was a tiny little boy, Adil, and his mum and dad so proud there, obviously of Pakistani, British Muslim Pakistani origin, wasn't he? And I remember he was a tiny kid. He must have been like 4'10" or something at the time. Tiny, beautiful little leg spinner, great little fast batsman then. And he just took the whole tournament by storm, didn't he? He won 4 trophies. They were all in a bag. He couldn't carry them. I think he fell in a hedge.
He fell into the rhododendrons.
It's all right, carrying his bag.
If you remember, there was the Mayoress of Shrewsbury there, and I had a glass of wine on my forehead, and I was balancing it just to keep the boys kind of entertained. And he won the awards, one of which you gave to him.
Yes, from the Telegraph.
And as he walked down the steps, he fell into the rhododendrons, and he said, Dave, I've got to get back to Bradford, like, you know, with me trophies, like. But Dave, where I live back at home, my dad's built a net in basement, and we play in the basement. He had a net there. So Adil, out of all the boys who have played for the Bunbury Festival, won more awards than anybody. Marcus Trescothick, Joss Butler and David Sales hit the ball the hardest. I always remember the ones who stand out.
Was Wood the quickest or not?
No, not when he was 15.
No.
I tell you who was Mahmood of Lancashire recently. Saj Mahmood.
Oh, yeah.
He's the
Amir Khan's cousin.
Yes, that's right.
Amir Khan's cousin, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Saj Mahmood, who's retired now, I think, was Amir Khan's cousin, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The boxer Amir Khan's
cousin. Yes. Well, he's lively. He's very good. And I can tell the one...
Lad.
Yes, that's right. And there'll be some very good players. You know, Bell Drummond's doing well. Dan Lawrence is doing well. Nick Gubbins. You know, the ones that I know. 95 have played for England, Gal. And I think I know the next 5 who will play for England.
Don't tell me right yet. I'm going to come to that. Okay. I want to ask you about the others in the team, first of all. Yeah. So let's go through the order. So, because obviously you, at the top of the order, because I know, because I was at the Johnny Bairstow Festival, that was Cornwall.
Newquay.
2005. Yeah, I remember that one. Because his dad had gone already. His dad had gone, left us. His mum was there and his sister was there.
That's right. Becky and Jackie were there. And Johnny Bairstow was Jack the Lad. And he led the karaoke in the bar.
Kid.
We did orienteering. We did climbing the cliffs and all that. And Johnny was always the leader. He was always the kind of scallywag. And so when the karaoke came, he wanted to be the singer there. He wanted to climb the cliffs. He was always the action man, like his dad was. his dad, Bluey Bairstow, you know, David Bairstow was like that.
Good friends of yours, wasn't he?
Yeah, very good man.
Because you used to go in the England dressing room when he was one of the England team, because he was the Botham time, Ian Botham and all those guys, Graham Gooch, David Gower and all those guys you're friends with. And you were a friend of the dressing room. You used to go in, Alex Stewart, used to go, Gatting, used to go in and make the boys laugh and calm them down with intense moments, didn't you?
It's very funny you should say this, Gal. Mickey Stewart said that. He said, right, Loon, in you go. You got 5 minutes, make them laugh. And I used to go in there, do all my best gags, then, right, Looney, out. And that was it. So I was the Joker. I was the Loon. But I was Beefy's friend, which was always a great kind of advantage, because I was his mate, and so I always did the walks, and I did this and that, and I was in the dressing room, and exactly that's what I did. I was the court jester.
So I'm going to ask you a quick question while we're on that. Ian Botham, Freddie Flintoff, Ben Stokes, probably our best 3 all-rounders from the last 30 years. Yeah.
Yes.
How do you rate them? Give me a 1, 2, 3 in those 3. I'm going to give you mine first of all. Botham, Stokes, Flintoff for me, and the reason is this: Botham and Flintoff were both wicket takers. Yeah. Botham was the best wicket taker out of all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Botham had the longevity in his career. Flintoff didn't.
Yeah.
Botham underachieved as a batsman, but in the great times, he was amazing to watch in terms of attacking batsmen. Both of them had the potential to be as good as Stokes, but never realised his full potential, in my view. Yeah. I think Stokes will never be as good a bowler as both of them, but may go on to be a better batsman, and probably is already, than the other 2. How do you see it?
Well, I'll tell you how I see it. Mike Brearley was Ian Botham's captain. And I said, Breers, how do you rev him up? He said, Dave, all I've got to do is say to him, we're playing Australia tomorrow and we've got no chance. That's all you had to say. And he would put on the 3 lions and the crown, and he would run in there and bowl. Ian Botham was the most tenacious. There's a way of doing it, and that he only sees the Ian Botham way. Yeah. Technically, wonderful batsman, cavalier, a fine bowler. Andrew Flintoff, very good bowler, made the ball, you know, bounce, and he was a sharp bowler. Stokesy, a street fighter, so they have lots of similarities. But I'd say with Ian Botham was the best. The best I ever saw was Gary Sobers, by the way, in all-rounder terms. But England, I'd say Botham, Stokes and Flintoff, yeah.
Imran Khan and Richard Hadley weren't bad either, by the way, were they?
Fantastic, Imran Khan. Wasim Akram, I always remember him saying, Dave, excuse me, doing that, Dave, I've got to show you how I'm going to bowl, outswinger, in-swinger, and I stood there and he showed me 6 different balls. Yeah. He was a magician with a ball.
He was, as they've all pointed out in that 92 final.
Yes.
Once he came in, and he's one of the greatest wicket takers of all time. Phenomenal. But also frighteningly quick when he wanted to be as well. Frightening quick. So we got Bairstow there. Yeah. And Bairstow now, because I'm going down the order. Yeah. Bairstow, by the way, but Bairstow is now a 6'1" version of the kid we knew way back when, isn't he? No?
Well, it's very funny, because I know he's had this thing recently with the press about, you know, this and that and whatever. But if you ever say anything negative about Johnny Bairstow, it makes him bat better. It's the most wonderful incentive. He wants to go out there and he'll get hundreds and whatever. He's quite sensitive to criticism in a way. He's he's a joyful, happy and glorious character. But he does take it to heart sometimes when people say, oh, well, you know, this and that and whatever. Just when, like they said, Owen Morgan is scared of short bowling or whatever. Well, that's ridiculous. We'll move on to that in a minute, okay? So it's brought the best out of Bairstow. And when Roy didn't play for 2 games, his soulmate missed him. No question, those 2 are blood brothers. When they're together, Roy and Bairstow are the best in the world, like Greenwich and Haynes were, and whatever. And he missed Roy, but when Roy came back, they just fit into it.
Well, what they can do, Bairstow can attack as dominantly as Roy, but Bairstow has the ability to bat like a genuine opener as well, whereas Roy wants to attack the ball. It's just what he wants to. No, he's a street. He is, in boxing terms, Bairstow is a championship round fighter. Right. He's a Miguel Cotto. Yeah. He will patiently fight you for 12 rounds. You're offline. there's an opening, he'll hit you with a big shot. He'll destroy you whenever there's a proper opening, but he'll also go 12 rounds if you want to. And that's the thing about Bairstow, and it's made him, I think he's a leading light now, by the way. I think, and here's the other thing about cricket, and we've played a lot of cricket. People don't realise how difficult a game it is. And I again compare it to boxing or mixed martial arts. There are so many ways to lose as a batsman. So many ways to lose. It's incredible what these very best do. I know the wickets are great and the ball doesn't deviate as much and the bounce is true, and it wasn't in the final. It was like an old club wicket, wasn't it?
Like
two paste.
It was like a charity game.
Charity game. Two paste. Water on the wicket early on in the day. Take the pace off the ball. The kind of medium slow bowlers, the dibbly dobblies or the pie chuckers, as Rod Marsh once called me, the Australian. That's the kind of wicket that you could bowl on, and very hard to get away with the keeper up. You know. But Roy, can you remember Roy at the festival all the years ago? Where was he? Which festival was he?
Well, he's from he's South African. I'm trying to think, Gal. I think it was after 2007. Yeah, that's when he played, and he wanted to hit. And by the way, 2 years later, he told me about range hitting. He said, Dave, we're taught now range hitting, which is extraordinary. And Joss Butler backed him up on that too. I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, we are actually taught how to hit the ball out the ground. So he's one of the kind of first to do that.
What they pick up the trajectory of it, and what they're going to hit a certain way. Is that what it is?
Way, and
is that from baseball?
Well, in a way it is. But also when they're in the nets, they are taught how to, when you get a half volley or whatever, even a Yorker or whatever, you're taught how to hit the ball out the ground. The T20 and the IPL and whatever. So Jason Roy was one of the first people to do that. A destructive batsman. And as you said, Bairstow, but they play well for each other, Gal. They understand each other, and they're a terrific partnership. They're like blood brothers, and they do very well. So the two of them are great. Then number 3, you've got Joe Root. And Rooty,
can't say enough about Root, can you? I mean, he is probably, he has the elegance of an Indian batsman, the wrists of an Indian batsman, the eyes of an eagle when he bats, I like to say. But such fluency. He bats. He's so beautiful to watch, isn't he? So elegant. And I remember him as a little boy, and now he's 6'2". He's as tall as the bowlers now, isn't he?
Yeah, couldn't believe it. Well, you were there, 2006 festival, Preston Nomads, in Brighton.
He was a little kid, wasn't he?
Little kid. Stokesy was there as well. He was a fighter, but Joe was always very elegant, timing the ball, inquisitive, used to ask questions. Whatever, and when he played cricket, it's the way he timed it. He has a wonderful way about him, and it's funny that he should bat number 3 in the ODI side, but he'll bat number 4 in the Test side. I think he should bat number 3 in the Test side.
Your best batsman bats at 4, though, doesn't he, in the Test side?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, Greg Chappell was certainly, and Pollock and whatever, but I think Joe should bat number 3.
Where did Viv bat?
Number 3. Viv, yeah, Master Blaster, never wore a helmet.
Well, you know, that was funny. When I was watching the 92 World Cup, I think some of them wore helmets then, but a lot of them didn't. And you know what? It was a different game when there was no helmets.
Completely.
Yeah.
And
you couldn't play the scoop shot that they play now. Those
no.
Because it's weird because we're going to come on to Joss Butler in a minute. But you couldn't play those shots when you didn't wear a helmet.
No.
They couldn't have been conceived of because it was just too dangerous, wasn't it?
Viv Richards, when he was playing at Lord's, said, "Here, brother Dave, man, where you sitting, man?" I said, "I'm in the grandstand, Vivi, with a young lady with a pink hat." "Okay, brother." And this is the God's truth. He had scored 100.
Where was this?
This was, I can't remember the year, Gal.
Was this playing for Windies against England?
For West Indies.
Against England.
Yes, he got 100. And the next ball...
Because you're good friends with him, aren't you? I once gave... Remember I went to Barbados once and I gave a package to him from you. Do you remember?
Yes.
And he moved all the cricket... All the Indian journalists and all the West Indian journalists out the way. There were loads of Indian journalists. And he went, "Out the way, man. I can see the Laureus T-shirt and I can see the Bunbury flag."
Yeah.
And I gave him a package from you, and it was an invite to a game.
Yes, that's right.
And like... You must have a very, very close relationship with him.
Blood brother. And don't forget, we did a tour with Ian Botham called The King and I. Viv was the king, Beefy was I, and I was lucky to be And on the poster. but when we were playing, the lady with the pink hat, he hit the ball, it sailed over her head, and I said to him, Viv, he said, "Did you really see it?" "Yeah, man, I saw the lady with the pink hat 130 yards away." He actually saw the pink hat, Gal. So when people say to me, "How good are they?" or "How how accurately can they hit the ball? That was a great example. Viv Richards was a master blaster, but a big heart and wonderful, you know, just so he's, yeah, we're blood brothers. He's top man.
So we got Owen Morgan at 4.
Owen
Tell me about
Morgan.
Owen when he was younger.
Well, Owen Morgan came and played at Finchley when he was 16 years old. He came and played for the Bunburys in a benefit game, a Pro-Am game. And the first ball he pushed, second ball he pushed, the third ball he hit into the East End Road there, Gal.
I played there. It's a long hit, that, yeah.
Sailed in there like that. I said, Owen, that was fantastic. And even at 16, you could see he had the dexterity and the power and whatever. Lovely lad. And he said to me, Dave, he said, my ambition is to play for England. He told me that.
When he's so Irish, isn't he?
Very Irish. Very
lovely
Irish.
lad. I mean, I've met him at Saracens with you.
Chap,
really
chap.
hard as nails,
hard as
isn't
nails.
he?
Yeah.
That's why it's weird when people say he's scared of fast bowling.
No, nonsense. Loves a Guinness, loves a chat, great with the people, but very, very resolute and determined. When Mitchell start bowl short ones, not everybody likes short bowling, Gal, but his way of doing it, he stands aside and he'll hit it, trying to hit it through the covers or whatever. Like that's the way it does. It's difficult to play, but he has a certain way of playing it. But he's very, very strong and a brilliant captain. They all love him. He gets the best out of all the players. They respect him, but he has the ability to get the best out of everybody he meets. Very nice chap and captain of the world champions. So that's Owen Morgan. Then we go to number 5. That's Stokesy, isn't it? Yeah, Stokesy. Well, I think he's improved every game he plays. Very determined and terrific batsman. And the way he plays and fights for England, phenomenal. Joss Butler, extraordinary. Anyway, I don't want to go too far.
Ben Stokes, I remember him being very angry at getting out when he was in the Bunbury Festival in a couple of the games.
Yes.
Like, not throwing his bat, but there was I mean, he wasn't tattooed then, and he wasn't the big man that he is now. He was kind of lardy at the time.
Yeah,
he was a big ginger lad, wasn't he? Strong looking.
Strong.
And he was very angry whenever he got out.
Yes. Very angry with himself. He sets himself.
With himself, yes.
He sets himself very high standards, and he does throw the bat around and whatever. And when he fields and when he bowls, every ball it's the end. You know, it's the end of the world for him, Gal. He is so determined. Yeah, Stokes is street fighter.
Well, you say street fighter. Unfortunately, let's talk about that for a minute, because what's lovely for him is that he was at the levels of physical exhaustion in that kind of 10-hour game on Sunday.
Yes.
You were actually worrying for him that he didn't have enough fitness left to get through to the end there and do that final super over and get England through. And he wasn't hiding any of the emotion or what he was going through in the entire last hour of that game. We mentioned Street Fighter. Do you think he's really learnt from what happened outside that nightclub and what he got involved in? I mean, have you ever spoken to him about that? Do you ever give them that kind of advice?
Gal, I managed the Bee Gees and Eric Clapton, lots of musicians. I've seen when people get a bit lively outside nightclubs and whatever. I'm not aware of exactly what happened. I know him and Alex Hales had a bit of altercation with someone else, so I don't really know what happened. But what I do know is that he was determined to show people that he was sorry for what happened, and I am now going to show you what I can do. And it certainly improved his game a lot. We all make mistakes, Gal. So what? Punch up. I know lots of people have punch ups, but you move on. We do all make mistakes, Gal.
Well, the funny thing is that's why I'm asking you, because you get to know these kids at 15.
Yeah.
And then they get to 20, and then they get to 25.
Yes.
And, he's the hard man of the team. England got hammered down under because he wasn't there, if I recall.
Yes, right.
Because you need someone in your team. We've played cricket, a lot of cricket. Yeah. I mean, I was a troublemaker on a cricket field. I like to argue. I like to fight with people. But it's not something you invent. It's something you are.
Yeah.
And you're trying to... It's just part of your armoury, and he's one of those guys. But you see these guys develop in segments as they get... in 10 years' time, he'll be a guy that doesn't have rows anymore. He'll be at the latter end of his career if he's still playing, and he'll be using his guile.
Yes.
Or just saying the odd
that's
little,
true.
you know.
That's true. He's very passionate in whatever he does, Gal. He has a great sense of humour. He's very much in love with his wife. He has a very happy family, and that you know, that's the basis. His family actually is his strength. That's his escape to victory.
What you're saying is that won't happen outside
No.
the cricket sphere again in his life. What happened as a street fighter, literally.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
Okay, look, we're in the middle of the order here now, right? We've
Yeah.
come down to batsman 5.
Yeah.
We're about to go to butler, but I'd like to take a little break for a second
Yes.
and talk to you about musical people, because you mentioned Eric Clapton and the Bee Gees there. So,
Yeah.
pop stars, or
Yeah.
as other people
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
call them, rock stars.
Yes, yes. Gal, I'm old. I'm 73, but I'm young at heart. But the reason I started the Bunburys was to give youngsters the best chance to play for England. But I also run my Bunbury celebrity cricket team, in which you've starred many times. And it is Eric Clapton, Bill Wyman, David Essex, Ringo Starr, Dennis Waterman, Gary Mason, bless his heart, long departed, the Weasley twins from Harry Potter, and we play 20 games a year.
Razorlight.
Razorlight, yeah, that's right.
From Razorlight. What's his name? Decent
John
batsman.
John Keeble, was it?
Who's the lad? Ben. No.
John Keeble.
Oh, they've all played for
They've
you.
all played. They've all played. Now, Gal, we've raised £17 million for different charities, schools, cricket, whatever. But the great thing is, they also support my schools cricket, so they'll turn up. So Eric would come to a Bunbury festival, or Barry Gibb would come to a Bunbury festival, as would Dennis Waterman, all the lads. It's all linked, Gal. The celebrity stuff, raising money for good causes, and the schools cricket. So Bunbury's is really a conundrum. It's a whole mixture of wonderful things, really.
You were 40 when you started doing the Bunbury festivals,
Yes.
33 years ago.
Yes.
So before that, you had a 15-year career in the music industry?
Well, what a wonderful question. I went to a Creedence Clearwater Revival concert in 60s or whatever, and Mike Mahoney, the CBS press officer, said, Dave, Decca are looking for a press officer, and the head of Decca, Sir Edward Lewis, loves cricket. So I phoned them up, and they said, OK, send in your CV. And a voice boomed, tell him to come now, 9 Albert Embankment. And I went down there, and he said, have you ever met Dennis Compton? I said, yes. He said, fair enough, you start Monday, you're the press officer. That was it. £2.5 a year, 50 quid a week, purely because I met Dennis Compton, 18 Great Marlborough Street. And one day, somebody's car had broken down outside, and it was Barry Gibb's car had broken down. I went down there, and I went, ha, 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 ha. Hello, Baz. He said, He said, who are you? I said, I'm the press officer, I'm Dave. I said, do you want a forklift truck? He said, no. Can you help me get a Jack? And I said, what Jack do you want? Jack the Lad, Jack Nicholson, one like that. Anyway, And I get a phone call, Gal, and a voice says, I'm Robert Stigwood, and I want you to come to 67 Brook Street right now. So I go there, and I walk into this palatial room, and there's a glass table held up by 4 stone lions, and Robert Stigwood, who managed Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber at the time, and the Bee Gees, and Eric Clapton, he managed them. He said, I want to start a record label, and you're the one. And I thought there was somebody else in the room. I thought it was a bit of a piss take. He said, now what are we going to do? And I'd heard that it was the year of the red cow in Japan. And I said, well, we'll have a red cow as a logo, Robert, and I would love to do it. He said, fine, how much money do you want? I said, well, it was Johnny Haynes was the first £100 a week footballer. I said, how about £100 a week? He said, fine, what car do you want? I said, BMW. He thought it was a motorbike, didn't know what it was. So I became president of RSO Records, got the Bee Gees together.
What year was that?
1973.
Wow.
And the Bee Gees weren't talking. They'd had a brotherly kind of spat and a sibling rivalry and whatever. And I brought them in. And I said, lads, do me a favour. I've got no product. I'm the president of a record label, no product. Can you write some songs for me? They said, Dave, well, on one condition, we like to go to America and do it. And so I phoned up Atlantic Records, Ahmed Ertegun, who was my friend, who ran Atlantic Records, Jimi Hendrix and all those people, fantastic Ahmed. He said, Dave, hey, yeah, come out there, come on, man, come to that. So we went to Miami, Criteria Studios, and we were writing. It wasn't really working, but on the way back to our house, which was 4 Ocean Boulevard, 461 Ocean Boulevard, we went over the Sunny Isles Bridge, and the wheels of the car went chick, 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 and Barry Gibb said, let's go back to the studio, criteria, and he wrote Jive Talking.
Wow, because the sound of the tyres go...
Just Jive Talking, that's it, that's exactly it.
Jive Talking.
Exactly, that's it. So we went on tour. We always started off in Dayton, Ohio. Then we went to Texas, Alabama, right down the east coast of America. By the time we got to Central Park in New York, Diana Ross was the warm-up act, Bee Gees were second, and Jive Talking was number one.
And it was the beginning of pop, wasn't it, really? Disco, I mean, sorry. Disco, no.
What happened, Nick Cohn was a writer for the New York Times, and he'd written this article about Saturday night is the night where you can let your hair down or whatever. And I looked at this, I said, Baz, this is a great idea, Baz. You know, when people have been working hard, welders, parking, it doesn't matter what you do, you want to put your glad rags on and go out and write. And we sat down and we wrote Night Fever, Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, More Than a Woman, and it became Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever, baby, that's incredible.
Yeah. And then we recorded that, Gal, and I've never actually talked about it. We recorded that in our own studios now called Middle Ear, which is in Miami. Yeah. And in the next studio, the Eagles were doing Hotel California. They were writing Hotel California, and Glenn Fry and Don Henley came in, and they heard us write Nights on Broadway, and they went in their studio and wrote One of These Nights, because songwriters
One of these nights, one of these lonely, lonely nights, crazy, crazy nights.
That's it.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's it. So you get ideas from each other. So Hotel California, amazing. Saturday Night Fever, two of the biggest albums ever made. Anyway, so we've done well. So in Times Square, they have the American Top 10 in neon. And we got to the point where we had 5, RSO had 5, Night Fever, Staying Alive, More Than a Woman, How Deep Is Your Love, and Eric Clapton, Lay Down Sally. And Robert Stigwood said, let's go and celebrate. And we went to this nightclub, Gal, and the bloke said, hey, man, you can't come in here like that, man. You've got to wear the tie, you've got to wear the suit, you can't come in here like that. And Robert went, blah. After an hour, we got in there, and I said, Robert, how did you get us in? He said, I bought the club. On one condition, that you can't go in with a tie on. He bought the club, so that was great. So we're the biggest, it was 1978, and it was the #1 independent record label in the world. And then I said to Stiggy, I said, look, Robert, I want to be an actor. Fine, but you've got to keep on doing the record job. He said, but Ken Russell's doing Listomania at Shepperton. I'll phone him. And he phoned Ken Russell. I went down there. He said, stand on that chair. And he gave me a revolver, loaded revolver. He said, fire the revolver. Boof. And I said, what about the lady upstairs doing the typing? He said, just fire the revolver. He said, right. You are Captain of the Hussars, Listomania, Roger Daltrey's List, and you're the Captain of the Hussars. Who's your agent? I said, well, I haven't got an agent. I'm with Stiggy doing all the music. So I started there. Then I did A Bridge Too Far. All the casting directors in England, Gal, are Jewish ladies. Miriam Brickman, Maud Spector. And Miriam Brickman said, David, Richard Attenborough's doing a lovely film. It's called A Bridge Too Far. It's about Arnhem. Go and see him at the Dance Centre, Floral Street, on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And I went there, and there was 2,000 other actors, all out of work, all going to meet Richard Attenborough. And he walked in, he said, darlings, I can only see you 5 at a time. You have 20 seconds to tell me why you should be in A Bridge Too Far. First one was a bloke called Liverpool Frank, and then I was second. They were, David, I said, Sir Richard, I'm a cricketer. Let me throw the grenades. I can throw a grenade 80 yards. And David Tomlin, the first assistant director, said, right. Super, right, we'll let you know. We had the recall, Twickenham Studios, and out of the 2,000, they brought back 500, and he eventually picked 40, and I was the second one. And David Tomlin said, all that thing about throwing a grenade, what a lot of bollocks that was, cricketer like that. He said, anyway, so Liverpool Frank won. So I said, Sir Richard, can I just say this to you? I want to tell you this, that in between takes on A Bridge Too Far, who had Robert Redford, Sean Connery, Dirk Bogarde, Ryan O'Neill, all the greatest actors in the world.
Sean Connery, no? What's he in it?
Sean Connery, Dirk Bogarde, Ryan O'Neill, Robert Redford, Michael Caine, Anthony Hopkins. I said, why don't we have little cricket games in between the takes? And why don't we call it Attenborough's Private Army, the APA? All right, darling, I'll leave that to you. And we did. We used to, cut, sound running, turn over, cut, out comes the bat. We're all playing on this thing, Bridge Too Far. Anyway, Joe Levine comes over, the producer from Los Angeles. Hey, Dickie, how you doing? Let's see the rushes from last night. I want to see the rushes. We had the night shoot with Sean Connery. We were the parachute brigade. hottest summer in Holland, 1976, gal, ever been. And it was meant to be through a rainforest, but there was no rain, so they had the hoses on us and wind machines going through that action, right? Cut. Joe Levine the next day is watching the rushes, and he went, "What the fuck's that? What the?" I said, "You right, Joe? What the fuck's that?" And there in the corner was 8 blokes playing cricket against a tiger tank. And it cost him, he told me it cost him $500,000, whatever. And the next day on the call sheet, it said Laurence Olivier, Dr. Spander, David English, dead German. So that was it. So yeah, I did all my films and whatever, but I kept the music going. And then, of course, the cricket came because, you know, the cricket was great there. You know, I've got pictures of Robert Redford playing and Laurence Olivier playing and whatever.
But tell me, so you're doing that through the 70s. You do some acting.
Yeah.
The what happened with the end of RSO Records then, and the Bee Gees and Eric Clapton? Because you've stayed friends with them, but did you decide you'd done enough of them in the music industry by the mid-80s?
Very good question. Because we had been so successful, and it was like an extended family. You know, like you and I, we're friends, and I'm not going to leave that. But I did go off and do more acting roles and whatever. And I left RSO Records.
Do you regret that?
No, I don't regret it, because we've been #1, gal. #1 in the world. We had 5 at the American top 10. Never been done before, by the way, still to this day. So I was proud about that. But I enjoyed doing the acting. And then in 1987, I started the Bunburys. And that started because Ben Brocklehurst, the cricketer proprietor, said, "David, come down here. I want you to meet Cyril Cooper, Vesker. They've run out of money. Would you fund the England Schools Under-15 Festival?" I said, "On one condition, you call it the Bunbury English Schools Cricket Festival, after my children's books called the Bunbury Tales." I'd done a thing on BBC called You and Me. You and me and you, lots and lots of things to do.
I remember it. I was a kid.
That's it. And my partner, Jan Brichter, was the illustrator, and we were at Mill Hill Village. So what happened, gal, I played cricket at Mill Hill Village, and I was with my artist who wrote my books with me, Jan Brichter, and I saw these rabbits. I said, "Look, that could be Ian Buntham and Viv Radish from Bunny Beadles, Yuman, Dennis Lettis, Rodney Munch from Brisbane or Melbourne." And Jan started drawing. And we actually got 16 children's books printed, Bunbury Tales, did a Bunbury album as well. And then the next thing was to sponsor the schools cricket.
Because you had also been a very talented cricketer yourself as a young man. You played for Middlesex Seconds. Yeah. Were you on the Lord's ground staff?
I was on the Lord's ground staff. Yeah. I got paid 3 and 6 an hour, and Jim Fairbrother was the head groundsman. But that was 1966.
Well, in those days, being on the Lord's ground staff was like doing an apprenticeship to potentially become a first-class cricketer,
Correct.
Wasn't it? Obviously, you were talented at cricket. Because I've seen, even in your older age, I know you can make the ball do weird things, and I bet you could bat as well.
Yes. I got 100 at Lord's in the cross arrows, the nursery end, and I was, that's right. It was wonderful. I felt so proud and honoured to be on the Lord's ground staff. Didn't matter about being 3 and 6 an hour. And what you used to sell scorecards and do a bit of sweeping up.
Both of them was on the Lord's ground staff, by the way.
MCC ground staff, yeah.
Do you think you could have made it as a first-class cricketer?
No, I don't think so, Gal. To be honest with you, I don't think I could. The trouble with me, Gal, is I like to give everything a shot. It's like living in a kaleidoscope. I love all the colours in there. And what it is, I see a roundabout and I spot the ride, the one that I'm passionate about, and nothing will stop me. I'll go for that ride. And even if things go wrong, I'll still continue to go for it, and then I'll move on to something else. But I always like to give it my best. And so with cricket, I wouldn't have had the patience to play 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I think I would have been an average cricketer.
And you wouldn't have had the life you've had.
No, I wouldn't have had the life. You know, Lara and Gower and all these wonderful players.
You played with all the best in the world. They've all played for you.
That's right. That's right. So in a way, I'd rather be the instigator or the organiser. And the Bunburys is a great excuse to see youngsters fulfil the ambitions that I never had. I had the ambitions, but I didn't have the talent. So the Bunbury Festival, I see Joe Root, Stokes and Butler play, and I'm very happy to be the person that instigates that. And that's it, yeah.
Here's the thing, just finally on the music before we go back to the England team. Did you ever think, oh, I wish I'd signed Elton, I wish I'd had some of the other names? I know your friendships with Eric Clapton and the Bee Gees has carried on. I mean, I'm in your house with you right now, and there are guitars and pictures and portraits and photographs of you with very many famous people from the music industry as well as from the world of cricket. There's a picture, you know, with the mother of your children, where you're getting, is it your MB at Lords?
MBE there,
At the, I nearly got the Lords, the Buckingham Palace, I mean.
Right, MBE there. Then a CBE, I met the Queen, she was wonderful. And we were told we only had 30 seconds. We would be nobled and then shake the hand and then go southeast off. And she said to me, "What's the tie?" I said, "Well, it's the royal household tie, Your Majesty. It's your tie. In fact, your mother used to come down and watch us play at Windsor." "Oh, beyond the trees." I said, "That's right, yeah." So we carried on talking. She said, "Tell me more about it." I said, "Well, your mum was there. She loved a gin and tonic. She was smashing. She did like a sherbet." "Oh, really? And what else?" I said, "Well, I used to manage the Bee Gees." "Oh, they're very loud." So we were talking. I said, "Well, do you dance?" This is God's truth. So the people next to her go, "Oh." I must have talked to her for about 8 or 9 minutes solid. She said, "Well, thank you very much, David. That's great." I said, "Well, I'm sorry about the loudness. I will tell them that." I said, "But I hope you do have a dance. Give my love to your mum. Promise me. And one thing I will tell Your Majesty, I'll be back." She said, "I'm sure you will." And off I went southwest.
So
Great lady.
yes,
She loved,
absolutely.
She loved the laugh,
The music career, not over, but the music industry ends.
Yes.
But you stay friends.
Yeah.
You're friends for life,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
with the Bee Gees,
Yes.
and Eric Clapton.
Yeah, and Elton John and George Michael.
You were friends with all of them.
Yeah, very
were they
much
with
so.
RSO Records then?
George Michael wasn't, but I was friends with him and Michael Jackson, and lots of others. Jimi Hendrix at the end before he, went. So I met them all through Barry, really. Carlos Santana, Fleetwood Mac, all those people. So
Were they all fun to be around?
Yes.
Did you see them at concerts? Did you party with them? Did you go to their house? What happened?
Yeah, what it is, I love music. I particularly like Tamla Motown, and the Temptations are my favourite group. And I went and saw them backstage at the Odeon Hammersmith, and they all started laughing at me. And the one with the deep voice went, "Hey, Dave, oh, why are you laughing?" He said, "Because my name's Melvin Franklin, but my real name is David English."
Oh, really?
And he showed me his passport. And so I said, "How can a 6'5" gentleman from Memphis be called David English?" And they all started laughing. And I end my book by saying, "Was that true or was it just my imagination?" And that was true. His name was David English. Wow. Temptations, wonderful. So once you're in there, you meet them all. I met them all, the Four Tops and all those people. Once you're in, Gal, acting or music or anything creative, you know this, you're in, the door's open to you. And as
If you're authentic.
Well, with cricket was interesting because the MCC has a 40-year waiting list unless you play 10 games. And I've been on the ground staff and I played 10 games and they assess you. They have a file on you. And David Hayes, who is the Cambridge and Finchley captain, wrote my little resume, and I was allowed in after 1 year. And I've been a member of the MCC for 48 years.
I got a confession to make. When I was captain of my school team,
Yeah. What school would you go to?
Monmouth,
Oh, brilliant, yeah.
I was captain. We were national champions actually when I was
yeah.
captain. Barclays Bank under 17s. Sir Anthony Tuke
Yes.
presented me with the winning trophy. Barclays Bank under 17s.
Yeah.
We played the final at Mill Hill School
Yes.
in 1983.
Yeah.
1983.
Yeah.
I think it was Mill Hill School, or did we play Mill Hill School in the final?
Right.
We might have played Mill Hill. And we won the game. Steve James, who played for England, was my vice-captain. He went on to Glamorgan in England, become a very good journalist himself, good writer on boxing, on cricket and rugby. And Sir Anthony Tuke presented it. And I can recall that, I can't even remember why I'm talking about this now, but
about the 17 and the school's cricket.
Well, schools.
To the MCCs.
Yeah, the MCC. Oh, that's right. When I was captain, the following year I was captain as well. When we played the MCC as the school team, you were given a card by the captain of the MCC team to complete that as your first game.
Yes.
And then you just had to play 4 MCC games and you became
A
playing member. And at the time, me, a kind of anarchist upstart, a public school, eccentric character, decided that because the MCC did not allow women into the pavilion or into any of the seats for the MCC members, I ripped it up in front of him right there. And you know the guy, because he played down here as well, a guy called Charlie... He captained the MCC against us, and he played for. I think he played for Finchley for a while. Charlie.
Oh, go on.
Tall man, bowled and batted, and he was a very good cricketer.
Not Mike Milton, not David.
No, it wasn't. I played against Mike Milton.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm digressing for this podcast, but in front of him, being a right on at the time.
Yeah.
Even though we're now accused of being sexist, misogynist people at our age, I said, no women are allowed. I just tore the ticket up in front of him and threw it in the bin, and I've never been a member of the MCC.
Oh, my God.
No, even though I went many times with my ex-wife's Bertie Turrell. Yes. I went with him many times. Yes. He was my grandfather, my wife's grandfather. Yeah. Went with Bertie to the...
But you love Lord's Cricket
Ground. I love Lord's Cricket Ground. But maybe, right now, I'm going to confess on the podcast, I want to revise that and actually become a member of the MCC for my last 25, 30 years of my life.
Well, you should. You deserve to be. Look what you've done. You should be there, Gal. You know.
Well, I'm not. I don't believe in pulling the old school tie, but
No.
but like you say, the MCC was a special thing.
Got in there 1 year as a playing member. Otherwise, there's a 28-year waiting list. That was it. So I got in there as a playing member. So I've been a member for 48 years.
What's the waiting list now? Do you think?
I have no idea. But
probably 150 years.
I'm sure.
So I'll never get in. So never mind.
No. Well, I don't know. The guy who runs it now is Guy Lavender, who was the Somerset boss. Terrific chap.
I only need to ring you up, and anyone can go as a guest anyway, so it's easy to go to Lord's. So, I've been many times.
If you love cricket, the Pavilion at Lord's is special. You, of all people, should be there because it's magnificent, it's creative, beautiful.
Why didn't you watch the final from there the other day?
Well, I wasn't invited for a start.
Do you need to be invited for that, do you?
No, I could have gone, Gal. But to be honest with you, I like watching on Sky because you get a much better view and you don't have to talk to people. Yeah. I'm not being kind of unfriendly.
I know exactly what you mean.
You'll go, hello, Loon, how's it going, Dave? Anything like that. All I want to do is watch Stokesy or Roy Batt. So Sky, I like to watch it there.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I know.
We have a game on September the 3rd, England schools versus MCC schools. I've got a box there, which I'd love you to come along and see the youngsters playing. And we've got a dinner in the long room. So it's an occasion, it's an event to go. It's an experience. You embrace the spirit of Lord's. It's wonderful. But I was quite happy to watch that extraordinary game on the TV.
You've got the Bunbury Festival this year. Just tell me where it is this year, please.
August the 4th till August the 9th, Gal. We're at Felsted School, Dunmow, Essex. Our 33rd. It's now called the ECB David English Bunbury Festival. Colin Graves took me to lunch, said, Dave, we're going to put your name.
Chairman of the ECB, of course.
The ECB. We would like to call it the ECB David English Bunbury Festival, and long after you've gone, it will always be called the David English Bunbury Festival. So I felt flattered by that. And we're there August the 4th to the 9th, Felsted, our 33rd festival, and 95 boys have played for England so far.
It's funny, there's lots of kind of fires going off in my brain today.
Yes.
When I was 14 at Monmouth, Sir Vivian Richards, Ian Botham and Joel Garner all came to play there one day. And it was
Sunset.
The testimonial of my coach at school, Graham Burgess.
Oh, yes.
Because Budgie was my coach.
Yes.
And I played club cricket with Budgie as well.
Yeah.
Come on, Shag, bend your back, son, he used to say. Because I used to open the bowling with Budgie.
Yeah.
And he'd, come on, Shag, fucking bully, but come on, Shag, bend your back. I always used to say that. And, he was, to be honest, I was quite a similar bowler.
Yeah.
He used to swing it both ways, the ball, and he was a very fine batsman as well. He opened the batting with Steve James. He'd always get 50.
Yeah.
And Budgie, of course, was the man of the match in one of the NatWest finals or one of those finals at Lord's. He'd got 50 and bowled well, and he was in that great side with Botham, Richards, Garner, and they had Denning, Rose, Popplewell, Slocum.
That's right. Dennis Breakwell,
from Taunton School. Yes,
Brian Rose,
Roebuck.
Roebuck. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a brilliant side.
Yeah, they were Closey played for them. Did Close play for them as well?
Closey was a Yorkshireman.
No, not Close.
Brian Rose.
Rose was the Yorkshireman that played for them, not Close.
Roebuck and Marks.
Yeah, that's right.
Garner, Botham, Richards, Popplewell, Slocum, Breakwell, Palmer.
I played against him at school. Gary Palmer. Yeah.
When I was just going to the dressing room there, Gal, Viv was doing his hair with a book.
Yeah.
Your brother D. How you doing, brother D? And Beefy was walking around going, all right, Loon. And suddenly, Peddler Palmer, he said, here, Beef, I've got this ticket for a dance.
Is this Ken Palmer?
No, this is no, this is Gary Palmer.
What, young Gary? Yeah.
Gary Palmer.
Well, I played against him.
That's right. He said, here, Beef, I've got this ticket here for a dance, 6 for 6:30, black tie optional, 10 bob. 10 bob for half an hour is a bit strong, isn't it? That's great, isn't it? 10 bob for half an hour is a bit strong. Oh, it's wonderful. It used to all go on. The banter in the Somerset dressing room was great, but they were a wonderful side.
Well, I'd say that fire in my brain going off is that I can remember being so triggered because that was 79, I think, when they came down.
That's right.
No, it wasn't. It was 81. Right. And it was Botham's Ashes. 1980.
Yeah, 1980 was Botham's Ashes.
And it was Botham's Ashes.
Yeah.
Because Botham came and played in a charity game just after he'd got that double pair at Lord's.
Toole, wasn't it? Charlie
Toole.
That's right.
Charlie Toole was the MCC captain who I played against many times.
Right. Yeah.
And Charlie was the captain of the MCC when I was captain at Monmouth. It's a really small world, cricket, isn't it?
It is a small world, and they're great people. They're like rugby players, similar types. Cricketers and rugby players are very, very. They have great joie de vivre. They're nice people. Footballers is very money orientated, Gal. I mean, say they're going for 89 million, 90, all that kind of thing. Cricket's a different sport. If you love the game, you play it. I know they're getting well paid now. They're world champions, and they have off the pitch sponsorship and everything, but I don't think money is the motivation to be a professional cricketer.
No, it's
You've
not.
got to be a special person.
Well, I think similarly for me, without really making this about me, you and I always make it about us because we're sharing what we know together. Is that I'm just looking at a poster on your wall right now. Marquee Club, Torquay Town Hall. Eric Clapton presents his new group, Derek and the Dominoes. Yeah. Eric Clapton, Jim Gordon, Carl Radle, Bobby Whitlock, Bram Stoker, Adolphus Rebirth, Lights by Acid Head, Chatter by Davy Jones. Friday, 21st of August, 1970. That is off your head.
I've got the gold record on the wall. Derek and the Dominoes. I've got the gold record on the wall. Yeah.
The thing is,
that's 50 years ago.
Well, the reason I was saying about those guys is that I wanted to play pro cricket. I mean, I had a guy who coached me first of all at school. I wanted to captain England at cricket first of all when I was 10. Yeah. Was it your passion, cricket? Oh, definitely. And I played cricket and I played rugby, but I've always loved martial arts as well. Right. I had a coach at school who took me under his wing first of all. There's a guy called Sonny Avery, who played cricket for Essex, and he scored 200 against the Indians. Yes. Do you remember Sonny Avery?
I do remember him,
Lovely man. And he was a very quiet man. He'd walk down the wicket, and he'd quietly talk to you. And he picked me up as a 10-year-old at school, as marked me out as someone to kind of say, this kid I'm going to put time into. Because when I was 12 or 11, I played in the side above me, and I batted 11, but I got 18 not out, and we rescued the game, and I took a catch, and I took 4 wickets in the... You do those things, don't you? Yes. And it forms you. Yeah. And that's what I was saying about meeting Garner, Richards, and Botham at the age of 13, 14 or whatever. Yes. Or it might have been 15. But it just made you think, I really want to be around this. It's what lights me up, and it's taken me into a life in fight sports and in sports writing and in understanding the passion and the fighting spirits that people bring. All these people that we're talking about, and we're going to go back to the England team. They're all fighting spirits in their own way, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. The best of all was Malcolm Marshall. When Malcolm Marshall passed away in the year 2000, I put on a game in his memory, and we had 48 Test cricketers come to the ground, the HAC ground, and the night beforehand, Glenn McGrath phoned me and said, "G'day, Dave, Looney, how many you got for tomorrow for Macca's game?" I said, "We got 48. Call it 49, mate, I'm coming." And we lined up 49, and out of all the players, you asked Viv, Curtly Ambrose, Courtney, all those, Malcolm Marshall was the cleverest of those bowlers, and that was a very big Bunbury game. We had a huge crowd there, and they all played 49 Test cricketers. They were going on Barry Richards and Chappell and whatever. So within cricket, there are certain players who are revered, and he was definitely one. Brian Lara is another. Gary Sobers is the king of them all, and who is a friend of mine, and he's written a nice piece. You'll see it in the brochure there. very, very supportive. And his grandson, Jacob Bethel, was the man of the festival last year at Millfield.
Wow.
Little Jacob Bethel, very small, and he was fantastic.
Who's his mum and dad then?
Arthur Bethel is his father, who played cricket with Gary Sobers for the West Indies, and Jacob he's related to Gary through his dad, and he timed the ball beautifully, and he'll be playing at Lord's. He's already got a contract with Warwickshire. He's 16, and Gary Sobers wrote this thing about. You'll see it. It's wonderful.
Who are the 5? You said there's 5 to watch out for this year, or a few to watch out for this year.
Well, there are 1 or 2 I thought would have played for England who haven't. James Hildreth, I would have put my money on. David Sales, I thought would have done.
But I meant from the ones.
Yes, the ones. Okay, Mahmood of Lancashire. I think it's called Saki Mahmood. I think.
So he's 15. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's now older. But these are the 5 I think who will play for England.
Oh, who have come through already, but haven't come to prominence
yes.
yet.
Well, you want to know what the young ones? Okay.
No, I want to know the ones who are knocking about at the moment.
Nick Gubbins of Middlesex.
I know Gubbins.
Max Holden, definitely. Tom Kohler-Cadmore. I think Dan Lawrence has got a good chance. Lewis Gregory has got a chance. But I saw somebody last week, Gal, because I do a David English under-13s thing, and there's a boy called Dominic Kelly from Millfield School who's 13, and I will swear to you he'll play for England. The most wonderful rhythmic action, 13 years old, 6'3", magnificent. Dominic Kelly, remember the name.
Quick bowler, yeah.
Quick bowler.
Can he bat as well?
Yeah, opening batsman.
He'll end up as a batsman.
Yeah, well, wonderful bowler. But when people say, who's the best you've ever seen? Well, the one who hit the ball hardest would be Joss Butler, Marcus Trescothick, and David Sales. But this bloke Kelly, I think, will go through. And there's other great Harry Sullivan, left arm spinner from Yorkshire. He's 16.
Out of all of those ones you mentioned, apart from the 13-year-old, who is the one? Out of all of those you just mentioned, if you were to pick one, who would it be?
Oh dear.
Well, maybe I shouldn't put you on the spot.
No. Carry on talking, Gal. Let me come back to you.
I want to go back to.
Who's the best? You want to know who the best is? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and do you know who's going to be in the festival this year? Who we should be looking out for?
Well, Harry Sullivan played in last year's festival. Will be playing in this year's. He's a left arm from Yorkshire. Very good player.
Spinner.
Yeah, spinner. Yeah, excellent player.
He's already turning it, and he's already got flight.
Turning it. But Jacob Bethel from last year, I would rate him right in the top 3 I've ever seen. And he's the...
and what does he do?
He's a left-hander batsman.
Does he bowl?
A little bit. He bowls a little bit, but as a batsman...
Gary Sobers bowled a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
of everything.
Yeah. But Gary Sobers, I used to drive him round. When he played the West Indies, I used to drive him round, and he always used to have a good...
What do you mean used to drive him round?
Right, when he was in London, brother, do you come and see me? So I used to go to the...
because you know everywhere to take him, kind of thing, to hang out. So when is this? Late 70s?
Yeah, late 70s. I used to take him everywhere. I used to drive him everywhere, and he was fantastic. But before the Test match, he loved to sleep. He would sleep.
You mean you hung out, really?
Yeah, I did.
Like when you say you drove, you weren't his driver.
He was my hero.
You hung out. You hung out.
His friend.
Yeah.
And, a lot of them are very loyal to you. I tell you who comes around here all the time, Jeff Thompson, Tomo. Good day, Dave.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he over here all the time?
He was here this summer. And Mickey Harford, the football manager, the 2 of them, they're like the kind of the dangerous
They just pop
brothers.
in, do they?
7:30 in the morning. Tomo.
On the way back from somewhere?
Yeah, Dave, let's have a beer, mate. The other day they came in here. Yosli, they came in here, Tomo and Mickey Harford. Right, what's happening, Dave? What's going on? So they do that. But Gary Sobers always phone me.
How is he?
Gary Sobers, terrific. Yeah, very good. Still not even fragile.
Because he's always described as a very serious man.
No, I found him very jolly. He loved to laugh. He's serious about his cricket, but he played it so well, Gal. And you wait till you read the article, and he says in there about me, he said, the reason David English is good at the Bunbury Festival is because he has a great way with youngsters. He says because he wrote children's books, and they can identify themselves with him. He writes that. He says that's why. He said it's almost like saying I am childlike. Well, I am childlike because I like talking to youngsters because there's no, they're not talking about...
There's no cynicism in you.
They're not talking about kind of investing the money or paying the electricity bills. You can just talk to somebody like that. But no, Gary Sobers understands why I get on well with children.
So we got to number 5 in the order.
Right, then we get to 6.
5 was Stokes. 6 is Joss Butler.
Joss Butler.
So we talked a lot about Joss Butler.
Yeah,
so you know, but he was one of the ones who had a chat to you the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, I get a bit surprised. They keep saying because he's so kind of innovative, and people say, "Oh, why doesn't he open for England in the T20? Why doesn't he do that? Why does he bat then the overs? There's 50 overs, and he gets to 40 and he hasn't been in. Oh, they're wasting him. They've got to get him in early because he's so innovative." I think Joss Butler really is probably best at 5.
In this one-day team.
I'm going to say, and the Test side, Gow, he's how good. I don't think people know how good he is. I don't think people know who he is. I think he's a mystery man, but he'll turn up for my Bunbury games unannounced, and he's a terrific chap. And he's the future England captain. He's vice captain at the moment. But
You think Test captain as well?
yeah, I think he will be. And apparently in the dressing room he's full of hijinks and he's laugh and everybody, they tell me. Very talented, but unknown. I don't think people know the depth of his talent.
So we get to 7 then, and I think it's Wokes. Yeah.
Very good.
Tell me about him at the festival.
2005 festival
Which
at
one was
Nottingham. There's Billy Godalman
Oh yeah.
there, and Wokesy, very polite.
As you know, I've played with and against Godalman as well.
Yes,
so,
yes.
is Goddle still around?
He's doing very well. He opens
Where's he now?
Derbyshire. He opens and he gets hundreds. In fact, this season he's got, I don't know how many hundreds he's got, but he gets hundreds every other game.
I think I got him
Billy
out
Godalman,
once.
left-hander.
Did I get him out once, or does he bowl? No, he doesn't.
no,
Do you know?
left-handed
Here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
When I first played cricket in England, I played for Hampstead, and I can remember one of the very first away games I played with, and his dad was a taxi driver.
That's right.
And I remember Billy was a baby, and I went in the taxi to the away game with his dad and his mum,
Yeah.
and I got the lift in the taxi.
That's fantastic.
And Billy was a 1-year-old baby, actually.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever told him that?
Yeah, he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's a bit of a lively lad, Billy.
Yeah.
But he's captain.
Do you know who'd played for Hampstead the year before was Andy Caddick, and he came down to the nets one day,
wow.
and God, I'm digressing here with so many things, but there was a lad who I had some real battles with afterwards. I can't remember all the names of people, but Hampstead were a very strong side at the times. They had that left armer Ashley someone,
Yes,
as
I
well,
know.
who was a good player for
Yes,
Middlesex,
yes,
played
yes.
a bit of cricket.
Yes.
Very good club cricketer,
Yeah,
but
they're
didn't.
quite a posh club. Weren't they?
Yeah, they were a good club.
Cambridge.
So, Billy Godalman, yeah. So,
He's doing well.
so,
So Chris Wokes, 2005,
yes.
Nottingham.
I came. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it
Very
was a big open ground, wasn't it? That one was played
huge
on.
open ground.
Yeah, very windy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well done, Gal.
Yeah.
And anyway, they call him the Wizard now after he took that marvellous catch.
Late bloomer at Wokes, isn't he?
Most certainly, and a gentle spirit, but he's
No, he's a proper athlete.
a proper athlete, good bloke, good bowler, great bloke. So he's number 7, and number 8 is Adil Rashid.
Well, or in the order the other day, it was the big lad from Durham. You know,
Liam Plunkett.
it was Plunkett. Yeah,
Yeah, good batsman.
strong man. He's the strong man of the team, isn't he?
Policeman. He's so erect. He's so kind of stiff back. You know, he's like
Big
the old
fella.
Yeah, he's like the old Bill to me.
Which was he? Because he's, what is he, 32 now? He's one of the older guys.
Yes.
Which festival was he?
I'm trying to remember. It's a good question. I can't remember which one he was in, but I will do. I will.
Do you remember him as a 15-year-old?
Tall.
Yeah.
Tall. Confident. And I always thought he was like a young policeman, very kind of stiff upper lip, whatever, like that. So no, very good lad. And when he plays, England always wins. Those middle overs, he always bowls the middle overs, Gal. And Owen Morgan rates him highly. And then there's Adil Rashid.
I told you the other day, I imagine Plunkett, like you're in a trench in World War One.
Yes.
And like you know, one of the officers says, Sergeant Plunkett, Corporal Plunkett, over here.
Yeah.
We're going over in the morning at dawn, and he's like, "Yes, sir. What time do we go?"
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
he's
right.
one of those guys that
Yeah.
you'd want on your side in
Yeah.
a war.
Yeah.
In fact, you'd strap him to your back.
Absolutely.
You know,
There's not a negative bone in him.
no, that's right.
And he's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And and when he's, Nasser talks to him or Athers talks to him after the game, it's always very straight down the line. stiff and a good lad, yeah. And then Adil Rashid is the next one who won.
We talked about him earlier.
More trophies than anybody at the Bunbury
Shrewsbury.
Festival. Fell into the bushes.
Yeah.
And then there's Wood, but there's another one. Who's it?
There's Vince that came on.
Vince, yeah.
Came on as a fielder.
Yeah.
Remember Vincey?
Yes.
Which festival?
Unfulfilled, though. This is somebody who gets the most beautiful 18 or 20, then he gets out. Exquisite timer, cover drive, flick off the... then he gets out. I do remember him. He's just the same. You always think he could do much better, that's all. Yeah. But, talent. He's had a lot of goes for England, by the way. He's been given a lot of chances.
Yeah. And then Wood.
Well, Wood is interesting. He's got a lot of injuries, though, Gal.
Do you remember him?
I do. He was always quick, ran in and just bowls as fast as he can, as straight as he can. It was always that. Wasn't interested in swinging it, left or right, just bowled fast.
Now, you know this as well as I do,
Yeah.
that in cricket, we all fancy going after bowlers like that when you're batting, because when someone just comes in quick, you can hit them back over their head or out of the ground.
Help it on its way.
Help it on its way.
Yeah.
It's people that do things with the ball that are the dangerous ones, Beefy, all these guys, all these guys, they just do things with the ball.
Mark Wood was a great Yorker bowler, but
Which festival?
Once again, I have to think of that now. I'll come back to you on that. But I always remember, all he wanted to do is bowl as fast as he could, as straight as he could. That was it. That was always his thing, yeah.
And then Jofra Archer, who wasn't part of the festival, but do you know him? Bunny Bados.
No, never met him. Bunny Bados. But born in Barbados, but brought up in England, and could be playing for West Indies, but fortunately we've kidnapped him, haven't we? I mean, so I think it's a bit strange, really. I always thought he should play for the West Indies, but I'm glad he plays for England.
Oh, aren't we all? But it was one of those situations, isn't it? That,
Gordon Greenwich could have played for England,
Yeah.
Gordon Greenwich, born in Reading.
Well, Desmond Haynes, I'm sure you know Desi.
Yeah,
obviously he's gone now, but played for Middlesex for all those years.
Yes.
Wayne Daniel, all these guys, they were almost like Londoners. They weren't. They were very Anglo, and it's one of the beautiful things about cricket that I go to America a lot with my work now, and the relationship. I don't know if this is too broad a subject for this chat and too narrow to talk about very quickly, but the relationship that we have in cricket with races and cultures and colours is so extraordinary. I mean, sport does that in general anyway, but I don't see it in America in the same way.
No.
I don't want to stray into that right now because that's for another day. But with all of these guys, when you look at them, 6 of them rang you on the phone. On Monday.
Pass the phone around.
Yeah, they pass the phone around. Are they still all 15 for you whenever you look at them? Do they look...
Have I mentioned this to you, Gareth?
No.
They passed the phone around. They were in the hotel.
No, you mentioned that, but they still all 15 in your mind?
All of them. It's exactly as though nothing has changed. And that's what Gary Sobers saw. He said, Dave, you're still a child at heart. And they appreciate that. And they still do that. It's like kind of school in a way. It's fun.
It's like letting the lid off the pressure.
Yeah, of course. It's always the Bunbury Festival. It's festive. So it was not an examination. And I always made that clear. And when I talk to them, they always remember it.
Here's just a final thing today.
They all think they're 15. And Johnny Bairstow, I think they get a sense of relief, Gal. When I meet them, they always laugh. They always think there's going to be a joke. But they all have a memory. And Paul Farbrace, unsung hero, who people should talk about much more. Paul Farbrace, who was assistant coach 5 years to Trevor Bayliss, says to me, Dave, when they get the Bunbury brochure, they pass it round the dressing room and they all read it and they all get your emails and they love your encouragement and they talk about the Bunbury Festival with great
fondness.
Yeah. They all have a story. And I keep in touch with all of them at night or the night before. I always say, good luck, Josh, Joe, make sure you do that, get your bat, blah, blah, blah. And I talk to them as though they were 15 and they respect that. But they tell me in the dressing room, they always talk about the Bunburys and the Bunbury Festival, which is pretty special, isn't it?
One of the things that I finally wanted to ask you about, which is a serious thing about cricket. Obviously, England just won the World Cup. It's like... we go back to 2005 when, was it 9 of the Ashes side had been at the festival?
Yes, that's right, 9 of them, yep.
that you know, and that was a momentous moment as well back 14 years ago, wasn't it?
It was, Gal. Yeah, that's right. It was. Yeah, you want me to enlarge on that? Do you what? I can't remember who played, Gal. Help me.
I'll tell you who the team was. It was Strauss.
Yeah.
Strauss. The ones from your festival were the little lad from Warwickshire, Bell.
Oh, Ian Bell.
Bell.
Yeah.
Vaughan.
Yeah.
Flintoff.
Bunbury.
Harmison.
Yeah.
Jones.
Yes.
Hoggy.
Yeah, Hoggy. Yeah.
Matthew Hoggard.
Yeah.
The wicket keeper was the guy who Welsh name I can't remember now. I can pull up the name, but basically there were 9 of them because we did. That was the year that we dubbed you, or I dubbed you in the Telegraph, as the Godfather of English Cricket.
That's
yeah,
right.
and it's stuck, hasn't it?
Yes, it has stuck. It has stuck. The 2005 festival was different. That was when Wokesley played. 2006 Preston Nomads. But you're talking about the Test team. Ian Bell would have been, I think, is one of the unsung heroes. I think he was a terrific player.
But here's the thing about then, right? And this is a serious thing to ask you at the end here. The BBC last broadcast live cricket in 1999.
Yeah.
2005, it was on Channel 4.
Yeah.
So it was on terrestrial TV. So it was watched by millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
The T20 game has massively grown over 15 years. We always played 20 over cricket in the evenings anyway.
Yeah,
it's always been around. But now it's a very big commercial entity.
Yeah.
So in 2005, cricket got an amazing growth spurt. I mean, we had a charity game against each other that year, you and I, where we had a lot of stars, and Andrew Flintoff came and so on, but at North Middlesex Cricket Club.
Yes.
We raised money for Great Ormond Street Hospital. We had an amazing day.
Yes.
You won, but we had 2 more games, and I won the next one, you won the last one, I think. We had 3 games against each other, 3 tests.
Yes.
And I know how much work you put into that Bunbury Cricket Club, because it was so much work putting one game together just for me. Every time it was like 8 weeks' work.
Yes.
One of the things that's being pointed out now, which is a good thing in all the newspapers and in the Telegraph today, the Culture Secretary Jeremy Wright, you know, who I've never heard of. No. We've seen 50 of them over the years, and they all of those lot. They are urging that cricket gets a chance, as it did at the weekend, to be on terrestrial TV, because it captures the grandmothers at home, the tiny children, the people that don't follow cricket. Lots of people had 2 TVs on, apparently, watching Wimbledon and the cricket.
8 million watched the
exactly. So there are the worries that, and I want your take on this, because you'll know. Apparently, 154 cricket pitches have been lost since 2010 in this country.
Right.
Yeah, that's 3 a week. Yeah, there are currently 5,896 operational public access cricket pitches in England. Now, this may be spin, but in your view, and you get in a couple of weeks' time the best 52.
56.
56. It's 14 in a squad, is it?
14 in a squad,
under 15 cricketers in the country, the cream of the crop, if you like. Half from public school, half from private school.
40%
from state school. 40%. 40% from state.
40% from state schools.
60% from private schools.
Yes.
So, in your view, what about these points of view? Do we have to be careful and safeguard the future of cricket? Is it healthy and vibrant at the moment? Obviously, it will be after this, but what's your view on the state of cricket? And also on the second part of that, what does cricket teach people about themselves?
Well, cricket is the most wonderful bonding sport of all, where on and off the pitch, where you learn camaraderie, you learn to enjoy each other's successes, and also you learn how to be there for your chum when the going gets tough. It's almost like being a regiment, you know, when you're in the war. You're with each other in the good times and the bad times. Now, in the state schools, you get 4 cones and a dustbin. They don't have a field. So they go to the club North Middlesex. That's where they go. Comprehensive schools or state schools will go and play there. The public schools have got all the facilities and everything, Gal. I think after winning the World Cup, somehow, I think every comprehensive school should have a cricket field. I really do. There should be a field. They play football there, don't they? So there should be a square for cricket. And I'm sure this will help. So to try and answer your question, I think every school should have a cricket field. I do, Gal. But they don't, do they? They don't. Felsted, where we're going, they've got 14 pitches, I think. But Felsted Comprehensive School, I don't know if there is one, probably haven't got one.
Even back in my day, I think we had 7 or 8 pitches at Monmouth. Yeah, pitches all the way, stretching all.
What they do in the state schools is this, Gal.
But mind you, Felsted is private school, isn't it?
Private school. If they can't afford a pitch, they always get somebody like the history master or the technical drawing master who would take cricket in his spare time after school hours. There's always a cricket enthusiast who will actually form a cricket kind of game after school hours. And eventually, at the moment, they do go to the local club because they don't have the facilities. So if old Boris gets in, or whoever gets in, I think they should make it mandatory. They should actually insist that every school should have a field where they can play sport, including a cricket pitch. I do, yeah.
Is the game healthy in the country?
Yes, I think it most certainly.
I mean, obviously it is because of the World Cup, but did you think it was even before that?
Yeah, I do, Gal. I think it's a wonderful, it's a very loved sport, it is. And when you go to Barbados and where they all, don't forget, when you go to India, where it's like a religion. I mean, see, if there was a school without a pitch, they go mad. It is a religion. It's expected. Everybody plays cricket there. But in England, this World Cup has definitely helped, Gal. Now, 8 million people watched it. It was on Channel 4, and Sky gave it for free, as you know. The weekend, it was free on Sky. And I'm sure that will help, yeah.
What I'd like to add to what you said is, and I know this from my own experience, is that cricket, like you say, is a brilliant game. It's a brilliant team game because it's not an instinctive game. No. It involves technique and practice and training, but it also involves moments of action, but it also involves a long process in which the individual is really important. Yeah. But the individual within a group is really important, much like society. But also, I think, I've always said this, and I don't know if it's kind of true, but it's kind of my poetic way of saying it, which is, when you bat, there are times when you're learning your warrior spirit, but you're also learning your cerebral nature within life. Yeah. When you bowl, you bowl with your warrior spirit. There's no question about it. Yeah. And I mean, the quicks definitely do, but you even do as a spinner. But all of that stuff. It's that, but it's also a game in which, and this goes back. There's a poem about Lords. I mean, and as I say, I think I do what I do now because I played cricket with a guy called David Price, who's a libel lawyer, who played Totteridge just down the road and played with me at North Middlesex. Very fine libel lawyer. In fact, he defended, I think it was the Sunday Times against the Pakistani ball tampering affair. Yeah. And it was through him that I met people at the Telegraph as well, and we played cricket together. And I think what cricket does, and this is the beautiful thing about it, like so many other sports, you get people who are lawyers, city men, from all walks of life, brickies, carpenters, cleaners, cooks, chefs, road workers, and on that day when you all get together and play, it doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from.
Brotherhood. Complete brotherhood. And you
all together. All together.
And you look out for each other. Yeah. That's why I always thought Kevin Peterson messed it up, really, for his career. I don't want to talk about it, but I believe the team is more important than the individual, Gal. Rohit Sharma, said that when he's out there, he's thinking about the team. He's not thinking about the 100 he got last week. He's thinking, how can I help the team? And that's how you should do it.
Stokes didn't raise his bat when he got to 50 on Sunday, did he? Because he knew that there was a long way to go. It wasn't about that. 50 didn't matter, did it?
No, that's right. So the team, it teaches you to be a team player. And when you come off the pitch, in life, it's great to be. It's much more fun being a team player. I think so, you can be an individual in a team, but really the team comes first. And you can be a lawyer or a dustman or whatever. So, yeah. That's what cricket is. Brilliant.
Godfather of English cricket.
Thank you, Gareth, for coming to find me after 4 or 5 years. I'm still going strong. I still believe it is the Bunbury stands for freedom, stands for fun, stands for ever being young. Do a good turn unto others. Never turn from your quest. For you, Gareth, are a Bunbury, and a Bunbury does his best. That's how I feel about it.
You've been listening to another Fighting Spirits podcast with me, Gareth A Davies, in the company of the one and only Mr. David English.